Lying isn't about the words. It's about the logistics. It is 5:47 in the morning. I am sitting in my Subaru Outback on a frozen, snow-dusted street, 1 block away from our house. The engine is off. I have been sitting here for 15 minutes, watching my breath cloud and fade in the dark. The only sound in this dead silence is the sharp pop of the dashboard plastic as it cools. I just left Liam's. My hands smell wrong. They don't smell like my lavender and sage soap, not like the expensive hand cream on my nightstand. They smell like cheap whiskey from the bar where he works, and they smell like his skin. It feels soaked into mine. I reach into the glove compartment, my fingers brushing against a sticky packet. Kids' baby wipes. The ones I keep for our son, Alex. I pull one out. It is cold against my hand. The smell of chamomile and plastic. I scrub my neck, my wrists, the skin under my fingernails, frantically trying to wipe away the trace of another man with a wipe I keep for my child. That single detail, right there, hits me harder than the affair itself. I look in the rearview mirror. In the dim glow of the streetlight, I see a woman I do not recognize. Messy hair, a feverish, sick shine in her eyes. I am the thing I swore I would never, ever become. Ben. My husband. He would be up by now. He would have already checked the markets, run his 5 miles through our perfect Highland Park neighborhood, and probably mapped out his entire day on his digital calendar. His life is a flawless mechanism. I am the variable he did not account for. I am the glitch in the system. Enough. It is 5:50. Time to go home. I start the car. The sound of the engine turning over feels like a gunshot on this sleeping street. I drive slowly, in first gear, for the last block. I am an architect. I design spaces, I create the illusion of safety and order out of glass and concrete. And right now, I am designing my lie. I rehearse the words. I had a splitting headache. I could not sleep. I drove to the 24-hour Walgreens for aspirin. Yes, that is what I will say. It sounds pathetic. It sounds plausible enough. I turn onto our street. And my heart stops. It does not skip a beat, it stops cold. The garage is open. Ben is standing in the opening. He is standing under the harsh, almost surgical white light of the motion sensor, the one we picked out together last year. The light that was supposed to scare off raccoons or strangers is now lighting me up, the main threat. He is in his gray running gear. But he is completely dry. He has not been running. He has been waiting. In his hands, he is holding our 2 favorite ceramic mugs. The heavy, handmade ones we bought in Green Bay on our anniversary. Slowly, like I am moving through water, I pull into the garage. The engine hums, and then I turn it off. The silence is thick, like mud. I sit there, unable to unbuckle my seatbelt. He does not move. He just watches me sit in the car. Finally, I find the strength. I open the door. The freezing air burns my lungs. I step out onto the concrete floor. I wait. I wait for the yelling. The explosion. The accusations. I wait for him to throw those damn mugs against the wall. I almost wish he would. Ben takes 1 step toward me. His face is impossible to read. He says, very calmly, that I must be frozen. He made me coffee. My voice does not work right. It sounds foreign and hoarse, but I force out the rehearsed lie. About the aspirin. About the headache. Ben nods. Slowly. He looks at me the way a lawyer looks at a witness he does not trust. He hands me the mug. My fingers brush against the warm ceramic. His fingers are cold. He says I look tired. Very tired. I look at him, trying to read anything in his eyes. There is nothing. Emptiness. A perfect mask. Then he turns away from me, looking out at the edge of the driveway where the sky is just starting to turn gray. He calmly notes that today is Tuesday. And that I seem to have forgotten to roll out the trash cans again. I am silent. I just stare at him. He picks up my heavy work bag from the passenger seat where I left it. He says that it is too heavy for me, and he will carry it in. Does he know? Or is he just the most thoughtful husband in the world, awake before 6 in the morning? The uncertainty is torture. 1,000 times worse than an open fight. Ben holds the door to the house open for me. He even smiles, slightly. He suggests I go inside and get warm. I walk past him into our warm, perfect, coffee-scented home. And I have never in my life, not on any dark street, not in any nightmare, felt so completely, mortally terrified. I walked inside. Ben moved past me in silence and disappeared into his home office. The door closed with a quiet, hydraulic hiss. I was left alone in our perfect kitchen, holding the cooling mug. The coffee he had made was bitter. This house. It was my project. My pride. As an architect, I was supposed to love it. But on this morning, I did not see the lines or the light. I saw the architecture of our marriage. Take this kitchen. I can still remember the argument. I had wanted warm wood, a little Tuscan mess, something with life. Ben brought me spreadsheets. He calmly explained that the German engineering of a Bulthaup kitchen adds 14% to a home's resale value. Then he gently asked if my creative impulse was really worth losing that 14%. He was not cruel. He was just efficient. We have a Bulthaup kitchen. It is cold, steel, and gleaming. I hate it. I walked down the hall to my own office. It was his gift to me last birthday. Full acoustic soundproofing. He said it was so I could create in silence. So Alex playing his video games, or the hum of Ben's endless conference calls, would not bother my inspiration. I actually cried, I was so grateful. Only now did I realize, he was not protecting me from the noise. He was protecting himself from my noise. He soundproofed me. He did not want to hear my late-night drafting, my calls with contractors, my anger, or my frustrated tears. Ben did not suppress me. He optimized me. He optimized my passion, my chaos, my life, until it was quiet, predictable, and completely sterile. I was not looking for an affair. God, I was not even thinking about it. I was just looking for noise. 3 months ago. A client meeting in Chicago got canceled. A snowstorm was starting, and the trains back to Highland Park were delayed. I did not want to go home to my soundproof office. I just ducked into the first door I saw, just to wait it out. A dive bar called The Shelter. It smelled like spilled beer and desperation. In the corner, on a tiny stage, a guy sat with a guitar. That was Liam. He was awful. Honestly. He was off-key, hitting the wrong chords, singing some sad song of his own. But he saw me, the only sober person in the room, and he did not get embarrassed. He did not apologize. He smirked, hit the strings even harder, completely lost the rhythm, and just laughed right into the microphone. He was catastrophically, wonderfully imperfect. Ben, in that situation, would have taken a year of lessons, mastered the instrument, and only then performed. Liam, he just lived. He was a mess. He was the kind of chaos you could never fit into a spreadsheet. When he came over to me after his set, he did not ask me what I did for a living. He asked me what song made me want to break dishes. We talked for 3 hours. The sex, which happened later, was not really about sex. It was a rebellion. It was breathing air that had not been filtered, purified, and served at a perfect temperature. But the guilt was eating me alive. Every efficient kiss Ben gave me on the cheek in the morning felt like a betrayal. Every night I spent with Liam made the silence in my house deafening. I do not know what I needed. An excuse. A reason. Permission. I found it yesterday afternoon. Ben was in court. I was in his office, looking for our old tax returns. At least, I started out looking for those. His desk is perfect. But in the top drawer, under the perfectly labeled folders, mortgage, insurance, Alex College, there was another folder. A plain one, with no label. I opened it. There were no love letters. Just receipts. But one receipt was from the Thompson Hotel, downtown. 3 weeks ago. For the exact weekend he said he was helping his parents move over in Naperville. I sat down in his expensive Herman Miller chair. My legs suddenly felt weak. Naperville. He hated going to Naperville. I looked at the bill. King Suite. Room service, champagne moët and chandon, 2 servings. My blood did not run cold. It boiled. All my suffocating, corrosive guilt evaporated in 1 second. It was washed away by a wave of pure, hot, righteous anger. He was not a saint. He was not the victim. He was just a liar. A better liar than I was. I was not destroying our marriage. We were just in a silent race to see who could do it first. And he, it turned out, had been in the lead the whole time. That anger was intoxicating. It was as clean as pure oxygen. I flew out of the house, got in my car, and for the first time in months, I did not check the rearview mirror. The receipt from the Thompson Hotel was in my pocket. It felt almost hot to the touch. It was my permission slip. My hall pass from a guilty conscience. I was not the guilty wife anymore. I was the wronged wife. I was just as much a victim as he was. No. I was more of a victim, because at least I had the decency to feel terrible. Ben, with his perfect spreadsheets and cost-benefit analysis, did not feel terrible. He just filed the champagne under miscellaneous expenses. While I was suffocating in his sterile, soundproof silence, he was drinking moët in a king suite. While I was looking for a little life in a dirty bar, he was living a whole separate, clean, expensive life of his own. I drove to Chicago, to Liam's apartment. But I was not driving there as a mistress, stealing an hour of someone else's time. I was driving there as a woman making a decision. My guilt was gone. I was no longer choosing between right and wrong. I was choosing between fake and real. Ben was fake. Liam, with his chaos and his bad music, was the only real thing I had touched in 10 years. I sped down the highway, and the snow on the trees no longer looked like a prison wall. It looked like a blank page. I burst into his apartment above the bar without even knocking. The smell of stale beer and old cigarettes hit me in the face. He was there. He was sitting on the floor, barefoot, wearing just jeans, trying to fix a guitar pedal with a soldering iron. He looked up at me, and his smile was slow and lazy. I did not give him a chance to say a word. I could not contain the adrenaline, the ringing in my ears, the feeling of freedom. I told him everything. I told him Ben was a liar, too. That I had found the hotel receipt. I told him we were even, that he had been lying to me, that our whole marriage was a farce. I told him I finally understood. That I was done living in that perfect, quiet prison he had designed for me. I was probably talking too loud, almost yelling. I told him I was choosing this. This mess. This life. I told him I was choosing him. I waited. I waited for him to jump up, to grab me, to kiss me. I waited for us to start planning our new, honest, maybe poor, but real life together. Liam did not jump up. He set the soldering iron down, very carefully. He looked at me like I had just started speaking a foreign language. He physically recoiled, shuffling back on the floor, away from me. He did not hug me. He looked scared. He told me I needed to slow down. He asked, very quietly, what I was talking about. Choosing him. He stood up. He reminded me that I was married. That I had a house, that I had Alex. He said it all like these were details I had simply forgotten. And then he said it. He said he thought we were just He used that awful, cheap, empty word. Having fun. I froze. I stared at him, and suddenly, he did not look real anymore. I saw him for exactly what he was. A man almost 40, living above a bar, playing in a band that no one listened to. For me, this was a rebellion. An escape. A life-altering choice. For him, it was a fling with a rich, bored woman from the suburbs. I had risked everything. My home. My son. My career. He had risked nothing. My grand, existential passion was just a pastime for him. My righteous anger, my newfound freedom, it all shattered against his lazy, having fun. I had not escaped from prison. I had just discovered that I had willingly walked into another cell, one that was smaller and dirtier. And I looked at his unmade bed, at the empty bottles on the floor, at that stupid guitar pedal. And for the first time in 3 months, I did not feel passion, and I did not feel guilt. I just felt disgusted. I do not remember the drive home. I do not remember parking in the garage. The next thing I remember, I was standing in our living room, and tears were streaming down my face. Not tears of guilt. Not tears of passion. Just bitter, ugly tears of humiliation. I had traded my life for a man who thought I was just fun. I had stomped on my marriage for cheap, sweaty sex in an apartment over a bar. I had lost everything, and I did not even have a beautiful story to tell. He was there. Ben. He was sitting in his perfect Eames chair, the one he had researched for 6 months before buying. He was not reading. He was not working. He was just waiting. I looked at him, and all my pain, all my disgust for Liam, all my hatred for myself, it all focused on him. On his calm. On his perfection. But I had my shield. My weapon. My excuse. I walked over to the coffee table. My hand was shaking as I pulled the folded receipt from the Thompson Hotel out of my coat pocket. I did not place it down. I threw it. It skidded across the glass and stopped right in front of him. I remember my voice. It was low and ugly. I told him he could stop pretending. I spat it all out. I asked him how she was. I asked if she had enjoyed the King's Suite. I asked if the Moët and Chandon champagne had been cold enough. I asked if she was better than me. Ben did not flinch. He just watched me come apart. He let me finish. When the silence in the room was ringing again, he reached out and picked up the receipt. He looked at it. Then he looked at me. His voice was level, almost clinical. He said that her name was Dr. Adelia Chong. And that she is the best surgical oncologist in the state of Illinois. It did not register at first. The air just left my lungs. He explained. He was at the Thompson. He got that room because it was 2 blocks from Northwestern Hospital. He did not go there for a date. He went there for a screening. He reminded me of his father. How fast it had happened to him. He reminded me of the word hereditary. He said he did not want to scare me or Alex. Not until he knew for sure. I stared at him, seeing nothing. He said the second serving on the room service bill was not champagne. It was ginger ale. He was nauseous from the prep procedures. He was there alone. I remembered. Vaguely, I remembered that text from him, 3 weeks ago. Something simple. Something about how he was thinking of me and loved me. I had gotten it while I was in the car. On my way to Liam's. I remember it had made me angry. He had not been cheating. He had been scared. He had been alone. He had been facing down the idea of his own death while I was having fun. I collapsed onto the sofa. I could not breathe. I tried to say something, to apologize, but all that came out was a quiet, choking sound. I told him, "Oh God. I did not know." He nodded. He said it was okay. He said the results came back yesterday. He was clear. Everything was fine. He even smiled. Just a little, at the corners of his mouth. But the smile did not reach his eyes. He said that while he was waiting for the tests, waiting for me to come home tonight, he had a lot of time to think. About all of us. About optimization. About the data he was missing. He said he does not like uncertainty. That he always prefers to have the full picture. He reached for his laptop, which was next to his chair. He opened it. He said he had thought he was the one doing something wrong. That it was his fault I had become so distant. He said he just wanted to know why. He turned the screen to face me. It was not the chaos of my emotions. It was his perfect order. A desktop. And on it, folders. Folder 1, L. Sullivan Profile. Inside was a PDF file. A photo of Liam, taken on the street. His address. His place of work. And his public record, including 2 arrests for disorderly conduct. Folder 2, Subaru Outback Logs. Inside was not a map. It was an Excel spreadsheet. Dates. Times I left the house. Times I arrived in Chicago. The exact coordinates of his apartment bar. Every single one of my late client meetings. And folder 3, home system records. He was not looking at me. He was looking at the screen. He said he had always thought the soundproofing in my office was a good investment. But that the new smart speakers he had installed around the house turned out to be even better. That they have amazingly sensitive microphones. He knew. He had not been suspecting. He had not been afraid. He knew. He was not a broken-hearted man, waiting for test results. He was an auditor. And he had been methodically, calmly, collecting data. The entire time. I stared at the screen. At those folders with their neat, perfect names. I am an architect. My whole life, I have worked with space. With what you can see, what you can measure. But real, great architecture is not about the walls. It is about the negative space, the emptiness in between them. It is about how that emptiness pushes on you, or how it lets you breathe. And in that moment, I understood everything. I always thought Ben had built me a soundproof office so I could create in peace. What a fool I was. He did not build a soundproof room. He built a listening room. He did not isolate me from the noise. He isolated the noise so he could hear me better. Ben closed the laptop. The quiet click of the lid sounded as loud as a gunshot in the living room. He said that, as I knew, he was an optimizer. And that he does not like to throw away working assets. He stood up. He walked over to me, where I sat on the sofa. I flinched, bracing for a hit, for yelling, for anything. He did not touch me. He just tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. He used the same precise, measured gesture he used to straighten the crooked painting in our hallway. He said that tomorrow, we have dinner at the Hendersons. He told me to wear the blue dress. The one that makes me look reliable. And on Monday, he continued in that same level voice, we would be closing my agency. I must have gasped, because he looked at me with just a flicker of curiosity. He explained. It was too much of a risk. Too many unscheduled meetings. He said I would be working from home. From my office. He smiled. That same smile I had seen on his face when he closed a particularly good real estate deal. He added that he would even improve the soundproofing in there. So that I would never have to drive out for aspirin in the middle of the night again. He walked into the kitchen. I heard the coffee machine switch on. That steady, mechanical hum. I was left sitting in the absolute silence. In my perfect house, the one I had designed. In my negative space. I looked at the flawless walls. And I knew there was no way out. And that is the whole story. If you like this story and want to keep hearing more like it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss any new releases. Remember, your support is so so important to help this channel keep growing. Now, let's think about this. In this story, there are clearly no good guys. But who do you think is the real villain? Was it Eliza, who betrayed her marriage, her home, and her son because of selfishness, boredom, and the search for a cheap thrill? Or was it Ben, who, in response, turned his family into a target of total, round-the-clock surveillance? What is scarier, cheating on someone physically, in an impulsive, stupid way, or this kind of methodical, cold betrayal of trust that went on for months? Ben did not yell. He did not break dishes. He collected data. Is that cold-blooded revenge? Or is it just efficient management, as he would call it? Write in the comments what you think. What do you think is next for Eliza? Will she ever be able to escape this perfect prison, or is she already broken? Did Ben's behavior, his fear of getting sick, his loneliness, justify the methods he used? Is he a victim who was just defending himself? And the main question, when did Eliza really lose everything? The first time she cheated with Liam, or the moment she walked into her house and saw her audit report on her husband's laptop?